So, very good afternoon to all of you. In continuation of my lectures on carbohydrate metabolism, today in this session we will discuss in detail about Krebs cycle. In this, we will spare a little time in the history of Krebs cycle. Carbohydrate metabolism is such a wonderful mechanism which was elucidated bit by several scientists, and in as far as Krebs cycle is concerned, major contributions were made by some of the scientists like Szent-Györgyi, who has won Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1937, where he actually studied redox reactions that are there in biological systems. So in this process, he found fumaric acid as a component in our redox in our metabolic system, and also he studied indeed extensively on vitamin C. For these contributions, he was awarded Nobel Prize. And another prominent scientist in this field is Professor Fritz Albert Lippmann. He has discovered coenzyme A and its role in redox reactions or otherwise intermediary metabolic reactions. Karl Martius and Franz Knuth are two scientists who has elucidated the tricarboxylic acid cycle to some extent. So from citric acid to alpha ketoglutaric acid, so the pathway was actually elucidated by Karl Martius and Franz Knuth in the year 1937. And in the same year, Hans Adolf Krebs, on whose name the metabolic reaction, or otherwise the cycle, was named as a Krebs cycle, he was awarded Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1953 because of his contributions in this pathway. In 1937, Hans Krebs was able to present a complete picture of an important part of metabolism, that is citric acid cycle. In this process, which is cyclical and has several steps, nutrients are converted into other molecules with large amount of chemical energy. Okay, so because this is a metabolic reaction where its objective is in majorly producing energy. So the latter are ultimately converted into adenosine triphosphate, which provides chemical energy to facilitate other biochemical processes in the cell. So here Hans Adolf Krebs started from pyruvic acid till carbon dioxide. Okay, so pyruvic acid and how actually the reactions sequence initiated, and then he found the complete picture of Krebs cycle. For this, he was awarded Nobel Prize. Now let's see what are all the functions of citric acid, because significance of citric acid cycle is very important for us. So the final common oxidative pathway that is acetyl coenzyme A to carbon dioxide. Okay, so this is the pathway, final and common oxidative pathway. So this is not only final, but it's a common oxidative pathway. Whenever and wherever acetyl coenzyme A is produced, it doesn't matter whether you are dealing with carbohydrate or fatty acids or amino acids, it doesn't matter. But when acetyl coenzyme A is produced, and when it can be incorporated into citric acid cycle irrespective of its source. And the second point is, it is the source of reduced coenzymes. Reduced coenzymes means NADH and FADH2. Okay, and substrates for other the respiratory chain. Okay, that we will see in the later classes. The link between catabolic and anabolic pathways, because acetyl coenzyme A is produced from the catabolic reactions of catabolic degradation of carbohydrates. Okay, one glucose unit gives you 2 acetyl coenzyme A's. But acetyl coenzyme A, okay, acetyl CoA can give you fatty acids. Okay, fatty acids can be synthesized from acetyl CoA. So that is an anabolic reaction. In the same way, some of the ingredients or otherwise chemicals that are participating in citric acid cycle, in fact they also can be used for biosynthesizing other important biochemicals that are needed for our survival. That you will see in the coming slides. The fourth point is it provides precursors for the synthesis of amino acids. So this is what I mean by precursors of amino acids and nucleotides. The components of cycle have a direct or indirect effect controlling effects on key enzymes of other pathways. Like here we have the citric acid. Okay, citric acid actually negatively regulates glycolysis. Okay, so in this way, this is one example I am giving you where the components of cycle has a direct or indirect effect on the key enzymes of other pathways. To begin the actual story, we need to start we need to mention one very important step in the which acts as a junction between glycolysis and Krebs cycle, that is PDH, or otherwise pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. So in simple way, like this we can show. Here you can see first one is glycolysis happens in the cytosol. Okay, and from glycolysis we got pyruvic acid, but actual oxidative degradation type of reactions happen within mitochondria. Okay, mitochondria is a sealed body, it is completely sealed and it has two membranes. This is internal membrane, this is the external membrane. External membrane is slightly permeable to small organic molecules like pyruvic acid, but internal membrane is completely sealed. Whatever that has to go or otherwise come out, the transition or otherwise material transport can happen only via transporter type of mechanisms. Okay, these are the transporter type of mechanisms. So pyruvate, what happens is it will enter into the mitochondrial matrix through pyruvate translocase. Now the pyruvate will undergo a series of changes to become acetyl coenzyme A. So here we have an enzyme complex and other coenzymes that are needed to convert pyruvate to acetyl CoA. Pyruvate generated in cytosol enters the mitochondria and then pyruvate dehydrogenase complex works on it. So pyruvate dehydrogenase complex actually is a 3 enzyme complex. Here you will find 3 enzymes, 5 coenzymes and other factors are also there. To be brief, we have pyruvate dehydrogenase is one enzyme, dihydrolipoamide acyl transferase is the second one, third one is dihydrolipoamide dehydrogenase. Okay, so this enzyme activates this enzyme, and this is pyruvate dehydrogenase is the actual enzyme which does the oxidoreductase activities. Let's see this one. So from glycolysis we got the compound pyruvic acid. Now pyruvic acid will be transferred onto TPP, thiamine pyrophosphate, the coenzyme, and in this pathway carbon dioxide is eliminated. So here the compound what we have is CH3 C double bond O COOH. So this is actually alpha keto carboxylic acid. This is a high energy compound because carbonyl carbon is permanently polarized. Like in this case, we am writing it like this OH. If it is like this, okay. So C double bond O is there, okay. C double bond O delta minus, delta plus, and here you will have delta minus. So two positively charged carbons are side by side. So that's why you will have very high energy situation over here, very low entropy. That's why carboxylic acid can be easily eliminated as carbon dioxide. So this low entropy is the driving force for dissociation of this bond. So this energy difference is actually leveraged in the decarbonylation and then transfer of the remaining carbon, 2 carbon unit onto TPP. So here what happens is that in the next step the TPP will be transferred onto the lipoamide part. In the lipoamide normally will have a disulfide linkage. This is the oxidative the oxidized functional group. This is reduced functional group. Okay, so because this one reacts with hydroxyethyl TPP, and in this process dehydrogenation is happening, because that will break down the bond, disulfide bond, so that the protons are abstracted onto the disulfide linkage, and then you will have thioester linkage over here. The thioester linkage, as we have seen earlier in the first lecture, where high energy compounds is what we had discussed, where whenever we have thioester linkage, like in case of acetyl coenzyme A, you will have delta G value approximately minus 41 kilojoules per mole. Okay, so this is the reason why this is a high energy compound. Hence the disulfide linkage, it is almost like transesterification. Okay, so this acetyl group will be transferred onto coenzyme A, where we already have an SH group. Okay, so this is the way how acetyl coenzyme A is synthesized, and then the reduced lipoamide will be reoxidized via dehydrogenation. So here in this process, dehydrogenation, the enzyme that we have over here is a succinyl dehydrogenase enzyme type of system is existing over here, where FAD will be reduced to FADH2, so that this will further transfer protons onto NAD. Okay, so that NADH is released into the system. So in this way, this entire complex works on converting pyruvate to acetyl coenzyme A, the input for Krebs cycle. So let's see in brief about the fate of acetyl CoA. Okay, because acetyl CoA can be produced from various sources. Fate of acetyl CoA. Okay, what is it that we'll say? From where we can get acetyl CoA? Because glucose is giving pyruvic acid, pyruvate to acetyl CoA. This is one. And in case of fasting, you will find fatty acids giving fatty acids will undergo beta oxidation, and then they will give you acetyl CoA. And in the third way, you have certain amino acids which can provide you acetyl CoA, like aspartic acid, etc. Acetyl CoA once generated, because acetyl CoA is like acetic anhydride, okay, high energy compound. So that's why it may react with any nucleophile like hydroxy group or NH group, NH2 group, so that maybe this acetyl group will be transferred and then chemical reactions can be initiated. So that's the reason why acetyl CoA has to go to the next step immediately. So the first target for acetyl CoA is oxidative degradation. That means the pathway that we are going to discuss today, that is Krebs cycle. Or otherwise, because Krebs cycle functions depending upon your energy requirement. So let's say when the subject is in fed state, and then low energy need is there, requirements are there, but quantitatively more acetyl coenzymes are present in the system, then what will happen? Acetyl CoA will be converted to fatty acids, okay, via fatty acid biosynthesis. And acetyl CoA is the initial starting point for the synthesis of terpenoid molecules like cholesterol, okay, because acetyl CoA, because here also you can see this one, acetyl CoA has one more target, that is ketone bodies. Means when in case of fatty acid metabolism, especially here, when acetyl CoAs are produced, as I told you, acetyl coenzyme A is a highly reactive substance, and they have to be produced in relation, in response to energy requirement. Let's say in case of metabolism of carbohydrate, very low rate of production of fatty acids will very low rate of production of acetyl CoA will be there. Accordingly, Krebs cycle will also function. But when in case of certain conditions like fasting condition, where fatty acid metabolism is accelerated, from 1 mole of fatty acid, so many moles of acetyl CoA are produced. But from 1 mole of glucose, only 2 moles of acetyl CoA are produced. But from, let's say, palmitic acid, we get 8 acetyl coenzymes, that way at a very quick rate. In those conditions, what will happen? 2 moles of 2 moles of acetyl CoA, uh, 2 moles of acetyl CoA will react with each other to give acetoacetyl CoA. Okay. Okay, acetoacetyl CoA. So these are what we call them as ketone bodies. These are what we call them as ketone bodies. And this is almost like a buffering. Okay, means before they go into such an excessive condition, excessive concentrations, acetyl CoA will be converted to a reversible energy producing compounds. We call them as ketone bodies. Ketone bodies can provide energy. But if even more concentration of acetyl CoA are there, then these ketone bodies will be converted to isoprene units, and from here steroids are synthesized. Okay, so in this way, HMG, CoA, etc., all these things you will see in the fatty acid chapter. So friends, this is the way how acetyl CoA plays a major role in the biochemistry of our body. So friends, we now are in a slide where Krebs cycle is explained. Only the outline of Krebs cycle is mentioned. I did not mention here any of the enzymes, coenzymes, etc. Now let's see one by one. The cycle starts from, now let's see one second, how many steps are there in Krebs cycle. We have, because from acetyl CoA reacts with oxaloacetate and then citric acid is generated. So this is the first step. Citric acid is converted to cis-aconitate via dehydration. This is the second step, where you will lose water molecule, and then water molecule is added so that isocitrate is produced, and then from isocitrate dehydrogenation results in oxaloacetate. Oxaloacetate will lose one carbon dioxide, and oxidative decarbonylation gives alpha ketoglutarate. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alpha ketoglutarate gives you succinyl coenzyme A, and then succinyl coenzyme A upon decarbonylation, upon hydrolysis, gives succinate. Succinate gives fumarate, 8th step, fumarate to malate, malate to oxaloacetate. Total 10 steps are there. Now let's see one by one. The first step is acetyl coenzyme A reacts with oxaloacetate to produce citrate. Okay, citrate contains 1, 2, 3. So 3 carboxylic acids are there. So that's why Krebs cycle is also called as citrate cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle. Okay, citric acid cycle. So here what are the inputs that we have? Acetyl CoA is there and oxaloacetate is there. So where actually the attachment is happening? This carbon is attacking this carbonyl carbon, so thereby you can get this compound. So how citrate synthase is the enzyme which is actually doing this job. This reaction is an example of condensation. Okay, you might have seen one reaction, we call it as Claisen-Schmidt condensation reaction. Claisen condensation, where aldehydes like R C double bond OH plus CH3 C double bond O CH3. Let's say if you take this compound R C double bond CH C double bond O CH3. Okay, so this type of condensation reaction, where this is the carbon over here, because of carbonyl carbon, you will have negative inductive effect on this carbon, so thereby it feels like a slightly positive charge will be there. So this facilitates removal of proton from this, and that's why we can call this carbon as activated carbon or otherwise acidic carbon. So this attacks, because upon removal of proton you will have negative charge on this. Okay, and then this acts as a nucleophile and attacks this carbonyl carbon. Okay, this is addition. and upon dehydration you will get the double bond. Okay, otherwise in the intermediate what you will have is, here you will have OH, here H. Okay, HH and carbon, and upon dehydration you will have the double bond. So here also you will find same kind of situation where we have a carbonyl carbon here. This is highly active because the carboxylic acid carbon is positively charged, and this carbonyl carbon is also positively charged, and this carbonyl carbon over here delta plus, because of this carbon methyl group can react with the carbonyl carbon over here. So this is the chemistry behind citrate synthesis. The next one is, here we have in the second step, citric acid will be converted to isocitrate. Here what is happening? Aconitase is the enzyme which facilitates dehydration of citric acid. Okay, because citric acid is a symmetric molecule, you can see that the COH is flanked by two acetic acid units like this, and this is a symmetric molecule. So that's why you can have a double bond on either side, no problem. So secondary alcohol upon dehydration is giving you an alkene. Okay, and in the next step again, if you see this, the 6-aconitate is added with water molecule again. Alkenes upon addition of water, they will give you alcohols. Okay, this is a known reaction. So that's why 6-aconitate and isocitrate. Okay, so this reaction is actually reversible. This reaction is totally reversible. Okay, so you can hardly find the concentration of 6-aconitate because the conversion rate is so rapid, because this can happen at body temperature and it doesn't require any external energy from outside. So this aconitase enzyme can do this reaction, both addition and removal of water from citric acid, aconitate. Okay, then the isocitrate then undergoes important reactions. Now let's see one by one. So in case of isocitrate, we have now this is an asymmetric compound where we have hydroxy group over here. Okay, now it undergoes two reactions simultaneously. Okay, isocitrate dehydrogenase does two things. One is dehydration of this functional group, where this is converted into C double bond O, and carbonyl carbon over here, the carboxylic acid unit over here is eliminated as carbon dioxide. So this is the first step where harvesting of energy you can see in the form of reducing equivalents like high energy compounds like NADH, and removal of carbon in the form of carbon dioxide. So this is the first step where elimination of carbon dioxide is there, and then extraction of energy from the compound is also happening. And in the next step, okay, in the subsequent steps, you can see one by one the carbon, how it is eliminated, and then how actually energy is captured. So what is it that we have? Alpha ketoglutarate that is obtained from isocitrate reacts with a coenzyme A, because here you can see the functional group over here is alpha keto carboxylic acid, just like in case of pyruvic acid where we have CH3 C double bond O COO minus. Okay, this is pyruvate, is converted to acetyl CoA C double bond O S COA. Okay, so in this way we can see, because this is a highly reactive bond. Okay, C double bond O, and here also C double bond O is there. So that's why here we can have a break. So here also similar kind of situation exists. So up to this one, okay, this is transferred onto coenzyme A, so that succinyl coenzyme A is synthesized. So in this process, carbon dioxide also evolves. Okay, this is the second step, second carbon being eliminated from the citric acid. So here one NADH is produced. This is also oxidative degradation reaction. In the next step, in the next step, where succinyl coenzyme A, because succinyl coenzyme A is like acetyl coenzyme A, because in the first class that we have seen in high energy compounds, in coenzyme A you will have 41 kilojoules of energy per mole. Okay, because of this high energy, it will make use of this high energy bond, so that upon hydrolysis the energy that is released will be transferred, will be utilized in the substrate level phosphorylation of GDP to GTP. And here this is not CO2, coenzyme A is also released. Coenzyme A is also released. Okay, so in this way succinyl coenzyme A is converted to succinic acid, and then the succinic acid will excuse me, succinic acid will then go towards oxidize to fumarate. Okay, here dehydrogenation is happening. Succinate dehydrogenase is the enzyme where dehydrogenation happens, an oxidation reaction. Upon dehydrogenation you are going to get fumarate, okay, FADH2. Okay, succinate dehydrogenase is a very critical enzyme in oxidative metabolism. In even electron transport chain also you can see succinate dehydrogenase, which is a surface bound enzyme. Okay, the next one is fumarate will be hydrated to get malate. Fumarate, whatever we got in the previous reaction, is hydrated to obtain malate. What is fumarate? CH2 double bond CHCOOH CHCOOH. It is converted to malate with the addition of one water molecule. Okay, so in this way malate is obtained. Malate will undergo again oxidation, so that NADH is, one more NADH is produced. The enzyme that is involved over here is malate dehydrogenase. So via dehydrogenation reaction oxaloacetate is regenerated. So oxaloacetate, with which we started the entire reaction, okay, that is regenerated. So as you move, we started with 4 carbons, and then we added 2 carbons. Okay, we added 2 more carbons. So here if you closely observe the way how carbons are eliminated, one by one carbons from this direction are eliminated. So whatever acetyl coenzyme A that has incorporated the 2 carbons may need 3 rounds of Krebs cycle to be eliminated. Okay, to be eliminated. So in the first round we are going to lose these 2, in the second round we are going to lose these 2, and 2 more carbons will be added. In the third round we are going to lose these 2. Okay, so it will move like this, 2 carbons each time, and 2 carbons are added freshly in every round, Okay, so in this way Krebs cycle functions. And let's see in brief about some significance of Krebs cycle, where Krebs cycle, as I told you, it deals with acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme A can be produced or can be an input for various biochemical pathways in our body. Okay, so in citric acid cycle can take in chemicals from various pathways, like acetyl coenzyme A, you can see it can be generated. One second, I will change the color. Okay, acetyl coenzyme A can be produced from pyruvate, or else the pyruvate can be produced from glucose or certain amino acids like alanine or tryptophan. And oxaloacetate can be produced by aspartate. Aspartate is an amino acid where we have this is aspartate, NH2, aspartic acid. Okay, so aspartic acid undergoes metabolism, oxidative deamination reaction to give this compound. It is nothing but oxaloacetate. Okay, Oxaloacetate can be obtained from aspartate. So this is a reversible process actually, that you will see in the next coming discussion. And then phenylalanine, tyrosine, etc., they can provide you fumarate. And then other amino acids like valine, isoleucine, methionine can provide propionyl coenzyme A. Also odd chain fatty acids, because fatty acids usually they contain even numbered carbon, but here odd numbered fatty acids also produce propionyl coenzyme A, which will be converted to succinyl coenzyme A. And glutamate and other amino acids like histidine, arginine, proline can provide alpha ketoglutarate, directly or indirectly. So in this way, so many sources are there to provide inputs for Krebs cycle. So that's why it offers a comprehensive platform for merging various biochemical pathways with an objective to comprehensively provide a solution both for energy as well as building blocks for other biochemical pathways. And as far as efflux of TCA cycle is concerned, means from TCA cycle it contributes to other biochemical pathways. Like let's start from acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme A is the input for fatty acid biosynthesis. And then from oxaloacetate, I told you just now, it can give us aspartic acid. And then malate is the input for gluconeogenesis. Succinyl coenzyme A is the input for heme synthesis as well as ketone body synthesis, ketone body utilization. And alpha ketoglutarate acid can be used for biosynthesis of glutamic acid. Glutamic acid is the input for biosynthesis of gamma aminobutyric acid. What is gamma aminobutyric acid? You know the structure, because in anatomy physiology you might have heard of neurochemical transmitters. Okay, yeah, there excitatory neurochemicals and inhibitory neurochemicals will be there. So this is alpha, beta, gamma aminobutyric acid, COOH. Okay, GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Okay, so in this way Krebs cycle plays a major role as a supplier of biochemicals for various other pathways. And next one is the energy contribution from Krebs cycle. As far as energy contribution of Krebs cycle is concerned, if you see starting from pyruvic acid, okay, so let's assume that from 1 glucose we get 2 pyruvic acids. Okay, so that's why the entire calculation is for 1 glucose unit. So 2 pyruvic acids can give you 2 acetyl coenzyme A, because here this one PDH enzyme produces here 2 moles of NADH. In the same way, isocitrate to alpha ketoglutarate, again 2 more moles of NADH, because per every pyruvate 1 NADH, because we are going to get 2 pyruvates from a single glucose unit, so everything is doubled like this. And then alpha ketoglutarate to succinyl CoA, because this is the second step as far as energy extraction is concerned. And then succinyl coenzyme A to succinate, because here we mentioned ATP, because ATP is equal to GTP as far as energy is concerned. This is another example of substrate level phosphorylation, because in glycolysis we have seen substrate level phosphorylation. Okay, 2 ATPs are produced per glucose. And here succinate to fumarate, again succinate dehydrogenase enzyme produces 1 mole of FADH2 into 2, okay, 2 FADH2s. Malate dehydrogenation to regenerate oxaloacetate results in 2 moles of NADH, because here we take NADH is equal to 2.5 moles of ATP, okay, in the electron transport chain. So when oxygen is there, it is submitted to electron transport chain, or we call it as ETC. Then that results in 1 NADH gives you 2.5 ATP, and 1 FADH2 gives you 1.5 ATP. So if you sum it up, you will get a total of 25 ATPs from Krebs cycle, starting from pyruvic acid. Okay, starting from pyruvic acid. So friends, let's discuss a little bit about regulation of Krebs cycle. So as we have seen in the beginning, Krebs cycle produces both energy as well as and supply chemicals. So that's the reason why it has to be regulated properly. And as far as energy is concerned, energy producing pathways are always dependent on levels of ADP and ATP. Okay, let's say if very high quantity of ATP is there, is always indirectly proportional to rate of the reaction. All the enzymes, they are indirectly or otherwise deactivated with increase in ATP, and with increase in ADP it increases rate, okay, rate of the enzymes. So in this way, okay, ADP and ATP largely control the citric acid cycle along with the three key enzymes, that means which are involved in alpha ketoglutarate production, succinyl CoA production. Okay, so there availability of ADP, a drop in ADP levels would result in the inhibition of ETC, leading to accumulation of NADH and FADH2. So these in turn inhibit the enzymes like citrate synthase, isocitrate dehydrogenase, alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. So citrate synthase is inhibited by ATP, acetyl coenzyme A, NADH and succinyl coenzyme A. So it is almost like allosteric inhibition. And isocitrate dehydrogenase is activated by ADP but is inhibited by NADH and ATP. Alpha ketoglutarate is inhibited by NADH as well as succinyl coenzyme A. Okay, so friends, this is the way how Krebs cycle is controlled by various molecules like ADP, ATP, NADH. And let's discuss a little bit about the metabolic defects of oxidative metabolism. So here, usually pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme, what it does, it converts pyruvate to acetyl coenzyme A. Let's say when pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme is not expressed, or otherwise when it is dysfunctional, what will happen? It results in lactic acidosis and neurological disorders, because pyruvic acid is supposed to be converted to acetyl CoA. Okay, because PDH enzyme, if it is missing, then a lot of pyruvic acid will be available in the cytosol. Then pyruvic acid has to be neutralized, because pyruvic acid is a reactive chemical, CH3 C double bond O COOH. So there is a possibility of decarbonylation, and this going to react with other nucleophiles like alcohols or otherwise imines, because this is a ketone. So that's the reason why pyruvate will be reduced to this double bond O will be reduced to alcohol, CH3COH COOH. Okay, what is this compound? This compound is nothing but lactic acid. It will be converted to lactic acid. So that's the reason why it will result in lactic acidosis, because this happens in cytosol. It will be exchanged between cell to cell and into general circulation. So it results in lactic acidosis. The next one is acetyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase enzyme, and it has a role to play in the fatty acetyl coenzyme A to alpha beta unsaturated fatty acid coenzyme A. So this we will see in the beta oxidation of fatty acid. So in the absence of this compound acetyl coenzyme A, the organic aciduria, glutaric aciduria, acidosis, hypoglycemia or otherwise electron flow from FAD to coenzyme AQ are affected. Okay, it means like oxidation reduction potential of the cell is altered significantly. The next one is pyruvate carboxylase. So pyruvic acid, see here oxaloacetate is needed. Okay, because in the cell we did not mention anything about how actually oxaloacetate is produced. Oxaloacetate is actually produced from pyruvate. Pyruvate is carboxylated, so thereby you will get oxaloacetate. So this actually acts as a sparking for TCA, needed for sparking TCA cycle. Okay, so when oxaloacetate is deficient, then TCA cycle cannot run. So that also leads to lactic acidosis, hyperammoniasis, and hyperalaninemia. Okay, because these affects the amino acid metabolism, because alanine means what? CH3 CNH2 COOH. Okay, it gets affected because it is supposed to be metabolized as CH3 C double bond O CO. What is this compound? This is pyruvic acid, which is supposed to go towards TCA cycle. So when TCA cycle is blocked, this concentration will be more. So this will negatively modulate metabolism of alanine. So thereby it will stay in the bloodstream. So that is what we call it as hyperalaninemia. Okay. So friends, this is the way how Krebs cycle also plays a major role. Krebs cycle and its the corresponding enzymes that are involved in Krebs cycle running are involved in health and disease condition of person. So with this I conclude my today's lecture. So today we have seen what exactly is the Krebs cycle. We actually mentioned a little bit about the contributions made by several scientists to discovery of Krebs cycle. We have seen in detail about biochemistry, biochemical reactions that are involved in Krebs cycle, including enzymes, coenzymes, certain cofactors, and then how they are producing. Okay, so what are the organic chemistry principles that are involved in the actual reactions that are happening in Krebs cycle? We have seen that, and then we also have seen how it is regulated, how the cell cycle is regulated, and the major roles of Krebs cycle as a producer of inputs for other biochemical cycles, and also as a comprehensive platform for metabolizing various chemicals that are produced by other biochemical pathways. So this is what we have seen in today's lecture. I hope you have understood the concepts behind the Krebs cycle. If you find it difficult to understand any reaction, please let me know. I will again give you clarification. Okay, please mention it in the comment box. I will help you out. And friends, please share this video with your friends and colleagues, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can get the notifications as soon as I upload a new video, which is going to be very much useful to you for your studies. Okay, I thank you all for your time, and I will see you again with another very interesting lecture. Thank you.